guys, Todd from Integrative Defense Strategies here. Just want to do a quick video. I just got done listening to a very important podcast where a gentleman by the name of Tom Givens, who has over 40 years of experience as a firearms self-defense instructor and also an investigator in violent crime, did a data breakdown when it comes to his students over the course of those 40 years who had been involved in defensive shootings. This is the best data I've ever heard, and if there's any data at all that I think will save your life out there, I think it's this. And also, the reason that I say that is because, if anything, this data will help you to prioritize your training. And this was actually the point of the podcast. So obviously I can't go over all of the data that was in this podcast, but I'm going to go over what I think are the highlights that are going to most pertain to you for this particular video. Here at Integrative Defense Strategies, we prioritize things and we make our decisions based on data, based on probabilities. And so that's why I want to share this with you. Literally just got done listening to the podcast real quick, through some stuff up here on the whiteboard, and I just want to run through it quickly for you so that you guys can check it out. First things first, ignore all of this. This is for some training for myself and some of my students, and ignore this. We're going to be talking about these facts that I have on the board, and if you can't see them, I'm sorry. Hopefully you can at least hear me okay. Okay, so over the course of 40 plus years as a firearms instructor, he has had students who have been involved in 65 shootings. Okay? Now these are students that were trained, so that just goes to show over 40 years what the probabilities are of someone actually being caught in a gunfight. All right? The chances are actually better that it could happen than what we actually think. Okay? He also found that the data that he's collected from these 65 gunfights does not match what we previously thought of as what the typical gunfight would be for an average citizen like yourself or like myself. Okay? 83% of those shootings took place outside of the home. 83% of those shootings took place outside of the home. Again, something inconsistent. What we thought previously that we would be involved in. Most people thought that most shootings would happen inside of the home. Actually not true. Only 17% outside of the home. 93% of those gunfights with average citizens happened at 3 to 5 yards. 3 to 5 yards. 3 out of those 65 encounters took place at contact or clinch distances. So very few actually took place at those distances. 2 of the 65 shootings took place beyond 15 yards. Okay? Most of these cases were armed robberies, which are different from physical muggings. The physical muggings are going to take place at the contact distances, whereas it would be intuitive, right? An armed robbery wants to have the safety of the distance without being too far away. So that 3 to 5 yard range, especially because they're probably untrained, is probably going to range that you're going to find yourself at. So those are the ranges you're going to want to train at. All right? Almost all of those 65 shootings took place in parking lots or while people were pumping gas. So those are the places to have your situational awareness especially ready. 80+% happened during the hours of darkness, not low light, between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. During the hours of darkness. So this is a big misconception and something that I have to admit that I have to adjust for myself. All right? When we hear the hours of darkness, we assume it's dark. The statistics actually show, while they happened during the hours of darkness, that the parking lots were actually very well lit. Actually, 0 of those cases where the shootings were involved did it require the need for a flashlight in order to defend themselves. He did talk about, however, the importance of defensive flashlight work, but not necessarily to spend a lot of time in low light when it comes to using your firearms, all right? The defensive flashlight work as a deterrent is a whole nother conversation and something maybe we can talk about in the future, all right? The current record of his students versus bad guys in armed robberies on the street, okay? 62 wins, 0 losses, and 3 forfeits. Of the 62 wins, only 3 of those people were injured and they all recovered to a full recovery, okay? They all survived. Of the 3 forfeits, what he meant by these 3 forfeits was this, that these were students who were trained and who had a permit to carry, but those 3 people were not carrying. Of those 3 people who were not carrying their firearms, they were all murdered and died. What does that tell you? 62 wins, 0 losses, 3 forfeits. Of those 3, none of them were carrying at the time of the attack. He also talked a lot about the advantage of a rapid and violent counterattack. The bad guy, through his life experience, has made the assumption that if I pull a gun on somebody, they will follow my commands. There's a high probability that you can actually die during those encounters. And you talk about the importance of a rapid and violent counterattack. The attackers are not expecting it. And they have to go through their mental loop process, which gives you a huge advantage over them because action is so much faster than reaction, especially in conditions like that. So, in summary, I don't know if you guys can see this over here. So in summary, we talked about find the gear that's going to work best for you. Find the best holster that will offer a good concealment but a rapid deployment and carry all the time. Next, focus on the speed of your draws and focus on solid hits in high thoracic cavity. On the average man, that's going to be about an 8-inch circle. Next, after that, you said focus on your secondary skills. Focus on your reloads, your speed reloads, and focus on fixing any types of malfunctions that you might have. And lastly, he talked about this quite a bit, the importance of having a committed mindset. We talked about this in my previous video, right? Making up our mind now, thinking it through. And just to close with a quote that comes directly from him, which I typed up, he said, after dealing with violent crime for so many decades, that he came to the determination that you can't have violent crime if you have people who aren't willing to put up with it.